Anyone wish him? Just me. Okay.
100%. 100%.
100%.
The MG82 has received a pretty severe nerf in the recoil department and in the TTK department, and so now lots of ARs are very viable as well as SMGs. So without further ado, let's just get straight into the top loadouts to use after the MG82 nerf. Okay, so number one is the Farah and the MP5/MAC-10/PPSH. Now this class is the one that I've been using since Friday, basically since the MG82 nerf, and it has served me well, as you can see in some of these clips here. I have absolutely beamed, and even this guy here called me a hacker.
100%. 100%.
So effectively, this gun has no recoil, very fast fire rate, and a pretty decent time to kill, as you can see on this graph here. Although it's the slowest, the recoil does make up for it. Especially looking at this true game data graph showing all of the recoil, it's ridiculously low. Now to pair this with an SMG, I'm going to recommend using it with the MP5, the MAC-10 or the PPSH that I've said before. Now the reason you're going to want to use an MP5 is for that faster time to kill up close. Colder MP5 being slightly faster, and that's the one that I'm using. The MAC-10 having a slightly slower time to kill, however a much better range. And then finally the PPSH being somewhere in the middle, not having quite as fast a time to kill as the MP5, but not as slow as the MAC-10, not as long range as the MAC-10, but not as short range as the MP5. So somewhere in the middle, it's all up to you, it's what you prefer, but those are basically the best guns to pair with a Farah. Now number two is a Farah supplement, effectively being the Cold War AK-47. Now I haven't actually tried this yet, but I'll be trying it tonight because after looking at a graph, it has an 108 millisecond faster time to kill than the Farah, and its recoil really isn't even that bad. Now if you recall, they recently fixed the axial arms 3 times to not be as zoomed in, and so instead it looks more like the VLK 3 times optic from Modern Warfare, so therefore the recoil of the AK-47 is nowhere near as magnified, which is why I'll be giving it a go. Now as well as this, since the fact it has such a fast time to kill, its chest shots are very forgiving, so you can lose and you can miss 2 bullets, but you're still going to get that fast time to kill at the chest. It's absolutely insane. And here's a quick screenshot of the graph, and here's a quick screenshot of the true game data recoil picture. Now you're going to pair this with the same SMGs once again, the MP5s, the MAC-10 or the PPSH, because they're all basically what I think are the best SMGs to pair with. Personally, I'm going with the Cold War MP5, however I'm willing to give the MAC-10 a go since it seems to have pretty fast movement and a few other good perks. However, that's at number 2. Now number 3 is the C58, being the new weapon released in Season 4. Now this AR has a pretty slow fire rate, however it has a very fast time to kill to combat this, as you can see in this graph here. Now what JGod says about this is it's going to be the next AMAX, and I'll take his word for it, because if you take this ground loot gun, you'll see that you absolutely beam, and with headshots, it's literally like you got aimbot. This kills extremely fast, and as long as you hit your shots, you're going to beam, and there's almost no recoil, so it's not as good as the Farah in the recoil department. However, its time to kill is definitely better than the Farah, as you can see on this graph here, so I would really recommend giving this a go. Now the SMGs you're going to pair this with is once again the same. There's not too much variation. I've basically given you all of the best SMGs in my opinion. However, if you think I'm missing a good SMG, please do tell me down below in the comments, as I'll be happy to hear it. And number 4 we have the XM4 and the Stoner, again with the same SMGs. This is mainly because the XM4 and the Stoner, in my opinion, are not going to be top of the meta at the moment, however they're pretty close. The XM4 has a pretty fast time to kill, as you can see on the graph again, however its recoil does hinder it. The Stoner has a lot less recoil, however it's quite a slow gun and a slower time to kill. However, at the long ranges, the Stoner is going to beat out a lot of these guns in the list, due to the fact it's got a pretty good bullet velocity, and it can really outshoot these guns because of its low recoil. Now the XM4, if I was going to use one of the two, would probably be my choice due to its faster time to kill, and the build for the XM4 is on screen. And then here is the build for the Stoner. Okay, so next up is the sniping classes. I always include them slightly lower down the list, but let's get into it. So at number 5 is the XM4 or the Ram 7 paired with the Swiss. Now the Swiss is basically the Cold War Kar 98, and recently has had some good buffs, which I'd say put it pretty on par with the Kar 98. I don't think there's much difference, it's basically your choice. Now the Swiss has more damage, however the animations are slightly different, and the Kar 98 has better animations, better movement, that kind of stuff. So it's your choice of the ARs. Again, I probably use the Ram 7 because I can control the recoil and I prefer it. However, it's completely up to you. The build again for the XM4 is here, and then the Ram 7 is here. And here's the Swiss build. Okay, so speaking of Kar 98, the next class is going to be the Kar 98 paired with again the XM4 and the Ram 7. Your Call 98 build, that really hasn't changed, it's here, and the Call 98 is just fast, and to be honest, I quite like it. However, if you're running solos, I'd probably recommend the Swiss due to its increased damage. Now, number 7 is what I'm going to call the experimental class because it's not quite meta. However, it's good to have a bit of fun with. Now, this is going to be the nerfed MG82 and the Milano. Now, the nerfed MG82 definitely isn't going to be top of the meta anymore. However, it does still do pretty well, and if you look at this compared to the AMAX, it is still pretty competitive. Its recoil is just pretty tough to control. Now, the Milano has had a gigantic buff in these Season 4 patch notes because it was basically in the bin, no one even touched it. When it was ground loot and you found that on the floor, you knew you were in the bin. But now it's been buffed, it's actually semi-viable, and so I thought I would include it as a kind of experimental class that you can give it a go. So then if it does get buffed even more, then and it fits into the meta, then you'll be ready to use it and you know what it feels like. So here's the build for the MG82 after the nerf. And then here is the build for the Milano. Okay, so next up is our Ghost and our Restock classes, being what I would consider one of the most important classes in the game. Your Ghost class is going to keep you off the UAVs, and your Restock class is going to give you lots of stuns and lots of Semtexes or C4s, which are very good. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to pick your AR or your LMG from this list that you're going to use as your primary weapon. So for me, it would be the Pharaoh or the AK. For you, it might be something else. Then you're going to pair this with a fully loaded Psych-Off build. I'll quickly show it here on screen. And then of course you're going to change your perks to Ghost or Restock respectively. Now, last of all is what I consider one of the most important classes, even more important than Ghost and Restock, being the fully loaded Ghost class. Now, I've had some mixed opinions as to whether to keep using the Growl. However, for today I'm going to recommend two different guns. The first one being the Growl and the second one being the PKM. Now, this is quite weird because the PKM isn't exactly meta, it's not exactly that good. However, it does have a very large mag size, and pair this with another 210 ammo, you're going to have even more ammo. That's basically why I'm choosing this. So the Growl build is as follows. It's the same as before. You get 210 ammo plus your 60 round mags, and your PKM build, like the Growl, has pretty low recoil, but you get a lot more ammo, and so I think that this could be pretty good. And if you don't believe this is useful, well, recently I actually was brought back in the last zone, and me and my friend, we were both brought back. We went to the loadout and we got our fully loaded Ghost class, and it came in very useful as we had a lot of ammo and we were off the radar. So make sure you have this right at the bottom of the list just for the end game. Okay, so overall those are the top 9 classes. You have your Pharaoh, your AK, your C58, your XM4, your Stoner, and so on and so forth. And then your SMGs, your MP5s, your MAC-10, and your PPSH. Tell me which class you've used down below in the comments, as I'll be interested as to what the majority are using, as well as telling me if there are any guns that I've missed out that you think fit in the meta. But anyway, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed. Please do like, comment, and subscribe, but I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.